Good afternoon. I pray that your Thursday was filled with spaces and places of joy, of peace, of happiness, that you did something intentionally on purpose to make yourself smile, to remind yourself that with all the stuff that's going on in this world, there are still things that we have to be happy about. There are still things we have to be grateful about. There are still dreams that we can still look forward to. And I know you may say, that's not my reality, but trust me, if we are intentional about looking out for the good, we will find it. Today we continue our conversation about signs that your relationship may be toxic, with a reminder we're not just talking about intimate romantic relationships, but relationships that are platonic, relationships with your children, with your parents, with your coworkers, with your church members, your temple members, with your sorors, any type of relationship that you may find yourself in that may not necessarily be all that you would like for it to be, that may be causing you more stress and more grief than it gives you moments of joy, then those may be the relationships you may want to look at to determine, are they toxic or do they have signs of toxicity? Today we're talking about not getting your needs met. And this is going to be an interesting conversation because I'm going to come at it from two different perspectives. A lot of times when we talk about toxic relationship, we are, if we're truthful, focused on the other person. Just how toxic are they? We blame the other person for all of the trials and all the challenges that come with relationship. And for some of us, it is really, really difficult to maybe put the focus on ourselves to determine what level of toxicity am I bringing to the relationship. Now, there may be a reason why you're bringing it there, but a good place for healing is to begin to own, okay, so what do I have control over, and where might I need to do some adjustments? Now, making sure that your needs are met, a lot of times we put that responsibility on the other person, on our partners, on whoever. But the reality is, if you want to be happy, if your desire is to have joy, the first person and the key person who's responsible for that is you. You get to choose who you interact with. You get to choose the situations that you choose to stay in, and those that you may need to leave because they no longer serve you well. An example of not getting your needs met, and it may be some toxicity on your part, may be that you always agreeing to do what the other person wants to do, irrespective of what you want or what your needs are. You may really not like action movies, but you go to them all the time with your romantic partner, with your friends, because that's what they like. And you never really get to see in the movie theater the pictures that you like, because the people who you interact with, that's not their thing. And the toxicity on your part is, I would invite you to consider what has stopped you from suggesting or even saying, I really don't like action movies. I really would like to see X or Y. Maybe it's fear that they'll say, well, we don't want to do that. But guess what? You can go to the movies by yourself. I have done it many times on many occasions, and it's absolutely wonderfully great. Would I prefer to go with other people's company? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Because the reality, in the movie theater, you're not supposed to be talking anyway. And so just going to see a movie when I was still working, if there was a movie that was coming out, I might look up and see what time the next showing is when I get off of work, and I would just drive to the theater and go and see it. Because my impulsive self was like, I want to see this, and I don't really want to take the time to try to see who's available and coordinate schedules. I have space in my calendar and I want to do it now. That's making sure that my needs are met. And then there's been other times when there's something I want to see, but it's not as pressing for me. And I will engage and ask persons, would you like to go to the movies? You want to meet or whatever. Have I ever gone to a movie that I wasn't necessarily that thrilled about? Yes. But would I do it? And that's okay, because that's called compromise. But when you find yourself consistently agreeing to things that are not necessarily your choice or not necessarily what makes your heart sing, that you may not necessarily have any interest in, but you continue to agree to do it, that may be a sign that there is some toxicity happening in your relationship. That may be a sign that there's something about you that won't give yourself permission to say no, that won't give yourself permission to say, this is what I would prefer, or how about we do it this particular way for this particular occasion. What is it about you that does not believe that your thoughts and your feelings and your desires are worth as much? And I'm going to say that again. Your thoughts, fears, and desires are worth as much as the other person's. What I'm here to tell you is, expecting that everything is going to go your way is toxic within itself, because it devalues the other person. But making yourself out to be the martyr, because that's what it is. Oh, I'll just go along with this. Oh, I'm just so humble. I'll just, to keep the peace. Martyrdom is not a good look for most of us. It has a lot to do with our own self-doubting thoughts, our own lack of self-confidence, our own fear that what we like and desire may not be good enough or may not be worthy of conversation. Now, we took a focus and looked at you and what you may be bringing to why you're not getting your needs met. A second piece of that is, does anyone know what your needs are? Maybe you've been doing this, okay, whatever you want, that the persons you're interacting with don't even know that you don't like action movies. They don't even know that you don't particularly care for Italian food. They don't even know that, if you go on one more cruise, you want to blow your head off because you're really sick of cruises, but that's where everybody wants to go, your cruise, so you're there for another cruise, even though that's not necessarily what you would like to do. Okay? So they may not know what your needs are. You may be what's preventing yourself from getting your needs met, or at least looked at, because you haven't given yourself permission to share them. Because you haven't given yourself permission, you haven't said to your fear, I may be afraid of what the response is, but I'm going to voice my opinion. I'm going to voice my likes and dislikes in spite of my fear. Because guess what? They can either say yes or no, or you can make other plans. It's not the end of the world. Now, on the flip side, if it's your partner who you feel like in your relationship, your partner, your spouse, or whatever, your needs are never getting met, again, we could come back to, have you expressed that to them? Has this been a conversation? But some of you may say, I tell them that all the time and they don't seem to care. Then guess what? That probably is a sign that there is some toxicity in this relationship, because that points to that your partner is not open to conversation, is not open for communication, may not be open to recognizing that your needs are equally as important as their needs are. Now, let's say your relationship is with your children, your underage children. And in a lot of instances when they're very young, you do have to put some of your hopes and dreams and your needs on the side, because you're raising your kids and you have to give them your focus. Your desire may be, when the child is, whatever age, to be able to get a full night's sleep without interruption. But, a 4-month-old or 5-month-old, their needs are actually going to have to take first precedence. Your need may be to go to an all-inclusive adult resort, but your children haven't been on vacation either, so you may have to compromise and find a space that's family friendly, where everyone, gets to be able to enjoy what they like. I don't get any money for this, but Disney cruises are probably a good way, or even Disney is probably a good way to kind of match up those things if that's within your economic bracket. The challenge, though, is when we do the martyrdom, when we give up everything for our children, we forget that there's a part of us that we forget that there are more parts to us than just being a mother or just being a father. And if all those parts of us are not nurtured, then it's going to come out in a more challenging way. If you are, let's say, raising children and everything has to be around your children, everything. There's no date nights with your partner or your spouse. You don't hang out with your friends. Everything has to be related to your children. I suspect that one day you're going to resent this. And you may resent it because as your children get older, they're going to do what children naturally should be doing. They're going to want to spend more time with their friends. They're going to want to spend more time doing things that resonate with their age group. But you have now left no room for your wants or your needs. And let's take empty nesting. They leave, they go off to college, they go off to live on their own, and you're now sitting either alone or looking at your partner and spouse and like, okay, what are our needs? And so I just want to encourage you that if you feel like you're not getting your needs met, that would be something that I would invite you to carefully consider. Why. Have you expressed what your needs are? Have you always just went along to get along? Okay, but deep down inside, that's not what you really want to do? Or are you with someone who appears to not care what your needs are? In any of those instances, it definitely could point to signs of a toxic relationship, and therefore it's definitely something to pay attention to. I'm going to end. I will talk with you all on Monday. I pray that your weekend you find spaces and places of joy, places and spaces where you can find some beauty, because there is beauty everywhere. When I was walking this morning, I happened to look down and I saw this little teeny rabbit, and it stopped and it looked at me and I looked at it, and it was just a perfect meeting. And it was nice to be able, for me, it was nice to be able to see a rabbit in its own environment, because I was in a park. It was nice seeing that nature, at least in that particular part, continues to be balanced. I will talk with you on Monday. Love you all. And I pray that as we continue to look at toxic relationships, that you will continue, if this is something that you may feel like you're challenged with, that you will continue to listen to these videos and keep what resonates with you and put aside what doesn't, but to do it all with intention and on purpose. Love you. Bye-bye.